Hello, we're so glad you're here. Today we're making this Blue Jay, and the basic material cost for this is right around $5, and it takes about an hour and a little bit more to make. So we consider that a high profit item to sell. So before I get too far ahead of myself, hi, I'm Donna, and on our channel we like to show you woodworking projects that we have made and that have sold really well for us, so you can make and sell them too. And today's no different. One of my favorite things to make, which is wood art. It's a very easy, fun project that you can make that has a really high profit margin. Like I said, for this one, it's about $5 worth of materials. I generally use scrap. As you can see here, the wood's definitely all cut out. I use a lot of scrap wood, and it takes about an hour and a little bit to make. So for me, this is well worth my time and effort and investment in the materials. So as always, we start by going to the scroll saw. I get my pattern and I print out 2 copies, one to glue down and cut and one to use as a legend. And as always, the patterns are available on our Etsy site. If that is something that you're interested in, the link will be in the description box below. So if you're interested in wood art, or you are someone who likes wood art and has done it already, if you want to check out the YouTube channel itself, we have a whole playlist of many different wood art projects, and definitely go check out our website, ideas2ididit.com. Over there we go more in depth into the methodologies that we use and some different projects. And if you sign up for our newsletter, we will email you a free wood art project, so you can start and try one out for free and see if it's something that you like. And I promise we won't spam you. We send out a newsletter once every couple of weeks. So go check that out if that's something that you're interested in. So as well, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. We'd love to hear from you. The engagement really helps get these videos shown. It tells YouTube that people are enjoying them, and that helps us out so much. We're really trying to grow a community that is very DIY mindset and wanting to maybe make a bit of extra money for your family and all those sort of types of things. We want to build a super positive community that's really there to help each other out. And one of the ways that we're doing that is we are trying to expand on social media. Go check out our Facebook page and our Instagram page. We're trying to post there more regularly. And on our website, we have a brag board where you can upload pictures of your projects that you've worked on. It doesn't have to be ones that you've gotten or patterns from us. It could be any projects that you're working on. We'd love to see them and really start to build that community. So after I've got it cut out, you can see I always number my pieces just so I can keep them straight. And in this project, Chris chamfered the edges of the project. We do have a separate video all about chamfering. If you want to go check that out, I'll leave the link in the description. And this just puts a nice bevel on the pieces, and it really helps build that dimension. With these bird projects that I've been working on, so far I've done the cardinal, the robin, and now the blue jay. They're a much simpler piece. The pieces are much simpler, the painting's much simpler, and the chamfering really does help build that dimension. So here we've started to paint, and it's really simple. It's a couple shades of blue and a bit of white, and I always use acrylic paint, and you can just get the paint from the dollar store. It's super easy to use, and I always like to put a bit of extra water in mine. So when I put it on, it's thin, and then I wipe it back with a paper towel. And what I'm doing that for is so the wood grain can still show through. I really like the quality of the wood. I want that wood grain and knots and all of that interesting stuff to show through the paint. So that's what I do. And when I'm painting my pieces, I always go over the edge and down the sides a little bit. You don't have to go the full amount if they're going to be hidden, but I always like to go down a bit because that relief of the chamfer, or if your cut's not quite perfect, you can see in there. So I'd like to show you different ways to be able to do the wood art. And a lot of mine, my other projects, you'll see I do a lot of shadow work with paint. And then I wanted to show with these particular ones that you can do much simpler paint job and still get that really strong effect. And it makes the project look fantastic. So you don't necessarily need to do all that extra shadow work. My inspiration for these pieces came from the idea of barn quilts. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's basically where you would paint either on old wood or even maybe on the side of a barn itself, and it would kind of resemble like a quilt square. So simple pieces cut out, maybe a bit of pattern, some colorful pieces that would go on a barn. So that's kind of where my inspiration is for these birds. And as always, when we finish up these wood projects, these wood art projects, I should say, Chris always makes my frames, and he's come up with a method. We call it the 2x4 frame method, and we're basically getting a frame for right around $1 or so. It's an excellent way to make these frames. They look fantastic, and it's really inexpensive. So we do have a separate video on that. If you want to check that out, you can. But it's a fantastic way to complete these wood art projects totally on your own from start to finish. It's all handmade and really affordable way to do it. And with these, again, thinking about the barn quilt idea, I wanted some pattern in this. So what I did was I got a piece of scrapbook paper, and I fit that on my backing. So I just glued that down on my backing and then put the bird on top of it to really add some interest to the background instead of it just being the plain wood. I like the plain wood. Most of mine are on plain wood, but I really was thinking of that quilt idea, that barn quilt idea, and I really wanted some extra color and texture. And I was really happy with how it turned out. So of course you could paint that in. You could do different textures with wood. We've done that before too, but the paper was a really simple way of getting a really interesting background, and it was really quite a big bang for your buck, so to speak. And I just got a whole huge 500 piece pad of scrapbook paper from the dollar store, and it was, I think, $4 or $5. And they're all 12 by 12, so they were the perfect size for our backings. So I was really pleased with how it looked, and I thought it really added a nice texture and interest to the piece. So definitely play around with that. Play around with how the different colors and textures and patterns. And I mean, you could add patterns to these pieces on the bird too. That would look fantastic. It's a great way to express yourself creatively, and for us, these have sold very well. So you'll see with this one, I have the 2 shades of blue. I have like a lighter blue, almost in the turquoisey aqua family, and then I have more of a royal blue into the navy. I wanted it to still have a bit of brightness, but I wanted it to be definitely dark. So that's what I went with. And then just a white piece and the black piece. It was a really simple paint job, which is nice. It was really quick to do, and it's really impactful. So we're just finishing up here, and then once it's done, what I do is I put my legend down, and then I put a piece of parchment paper on top of that, and then I glue all my pieces together on top of the legend just to make sure everything's fitting as it should and the angles are still where they should be, and just to make sure it stays true to the original design. And then I let it dry, and then I use a quick dry glue. It takes about an hour, and then after the hour I can peel it off of the parchment, and it generally doesn't stick. And then I will put a generous amount of glue on the back of all of that, and then glue that to the backing. So it keeps everything really well aligned. I tried gluing things directly onto the backing, and it can work too. I found sometimes it was a little harder to get it to look as the original design. So here it is. You can see the background paper. I'm very pleased with it. I hope you like it too. And thanks so much for spending time with us. Bye.